getting rid of 46 books. Hey everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be our yearly unhaul video. If you notice that the background is different, it's because we're in my living room. It's a million degrees. Right now I am sweating and upstairs is even warmer, so we're in my living room. The kittens are taking a nap. I'll show you them at the end because they were driving me crazy. They pulled out the microphone cable twice and I wanted to cry, so... This unhaul video is absolutely huge because I've been doing my read it or unhaul it so far this year. Started a little bit last year and I'm cleaning up my shelves. I have a lot of books that I don't want on there. I don't feel like they represent my taste, or I actually just hate the books straight up. So this is going to be a negative video. You're warned. We're going to start with some authors that are just not really working for me. The first one I'm seeing is Stephen King. Don't get me wrong. There are some books that I've liked by him, but the Dark Tower series is a big no-no for me. I read the first book a couple years ago on this channel and I hated it. At this point, I'm immune to other people's opinion. This sucked, okay? This sucked. I have the unedited, re-edited version, whatever. This is the one that he wrote when he was basically a child, and it sucks, okay? It's super confusing. There's no point. The writing sucks. Everything sucks about it. My edition has pictures, and they're not even at the right spot. So like, it's not great, but I kept this book and the rest of the series on my shelf because of the pressure. And I thought, well, you know, everyone says the first book is not the greatest, blah, blah, blah. I'll try it again. And at this point in my book journey, I refuse to do that anymore, because if I have to read the first 10 books of a series before I finally get it, then it's not worth it. It just sucks. We just need to admit it. And yeah, this book didn't work for me. I did read the first chapter-ish of this book due to the read it or unhaul it challenge, and I realized that this is not going to work for me. One of my main issues with Stephen King is how gratuitous the whole sexual trauma thing is in every one of his books, and sometimes I'll look past it, but in this one, again, from the first chapter, the main male character gets his fingers eaten by a monster or something, and then all he can think about is how like it's going to affect his ability to jerk off. And I was like, you know what? It's okay that something doesn't work for you, Emily. So I am removing the 4 books that I have from this series on my shelf. Luckily, I got them from library sales. So I spent, I think at the time it was 4 for $1, which I miss those days. So, you know, not a big loss, but yeah, they need to go. Someone's going to be very happy to find these, but they won't be on my shelf anymore. Another book by him that I don't want on my shelf anymore is my copy of The Shining. I like this copy. It's bright yellow, super cool, but I couldn't finish it. And I tried it twice. The first time was like a couple years ago, and I gave up midpoint, and like not even consciously. This was part of my pile of shame, which is the books that I didn't finish, but I fully intend to, and I just forgot that I was reading them. And I didn't really remember why I stopped, kind of just was bored, and I tried it again and couldn't finish it. I tried the audiobook, couldn't do it. Once again, the main male character is slowly losing it, right? And he's an alcoholic, and like the things he thinks about his wife in his head were just so incredibly violent, plus the boring. And I've noticed something about me is that if the book is not interesting and then you add like misogyny or something, I don't think it's worth it. So I don't want this on my copy, this copy on my bookshelves. So we're moving on. There's also Murakami. Listen, he's well loved. His writing. I've read 1 book by him and I'm done. I read Norwegian Wood because people told me it's not his biggest one. It's a good one to start with, and I am not questioning everyone's sanity. Everyone I've ever heard say that they like this book, we need to talk. Unless you specifically mention how horrible his female characters are, I will reevaluate the way I think about you, because this made it to my worst books of last year. If you want to hear me rant about all the quotes, I put the quotes even on the screen, the ones I don't say out loud, so you can see it for yourself. I'm not exaggerating. Every sex scene is describing the female characters in like questionable ways, like either like children. There's a quote about like this 40-year-old woman who had the breast of a little girl. There's also just the fact that in general you're following this depressed young adult man that goes to university and blah blah, and like I get that, you know, he's doing well at representing that and describing that, but you can't tell me there aren't other books out there that do it just as well without every female character trauma dumping on him and then proceeding to have some kind of sexual contact with him. Like, just so freaking questionable. I apparently can't even say my favorite quote on here because when I put it in my worst books of the year, the video got flagged and I had to re-upload it without saying the words. So I'm going to do it the proper way right now. But the main female character, for context, her father passed away and she trauma dumps on the main male character. And she tells him, I got all naked in front of my father's picture, took off every stitch of clothing and let him have a good long look, kind of in a yoga position. Like, here, daddy, these are my tatas and this is my coochie. That's the quote. I mean, except those two words. Like, that is just one. Okay, look at all these post-its. It's just so questionable. So many things happen in here that are just like, why are these characters telling him, female characters telling him these things? It's no. And like, the story wasn't even good. Then you had all, you know? So I'm officially done with him. I also had picked up Dance, and I had the very well-known 1Q84, which part of me wants to torture myself and try it because it's so popular and I want to know. But it's humongous, and after reading this, I highly doubt I could actually enjoy anything he writes, like literally ever. But part of me thinks that maybe I should do, I have a couple books on my shelves that I have a feeling, because people have warned me that I won't enjoy them, that I could just give them like a shot, like read it until it pisses me off. Maybe I could do that with this. Let me know if that's something that would be interesting, because again, I'm curious. I have this, you know, this is going to be the only time that I will have one of his book under my roof again. So should I try it? Should I not? We'll see. If I'm in a like self-destructive mood, maybe I'll do that, like the whole testing a bunch of the books on my shelf. Technically it's a read it, unhaul it, you know, but I might just unhaul it. We'll see. Some less questionable ones, but just books I don't want on my shelf. I have a couple mystery thrillers. The first one is The Last Thing He Told Me, which I don't know why I kept it. I read it 2 years ago. If you hear Mama Cat meowing, she's in heat and she's been driving me cuckoo, but she does have an appointment coming, so it's all good. But this book, very popular. I read it because it was the winner for the Goodreads Choice Award. At this point, I'm fully convinced it only won because it was part of the Reese Witherspoon book club and people had just read it, so they voted for it. But this was not good. I'll admit, I feel like it's a little bit more unique in terms of like how it ends, but I feel like the main female character, the way she pieces things together makes absolutely no sense. There's like big jumps and just, it was very, very forgettable. So not the worst thing I've read. And I kept it, I'm sure, because the cover and the spine, but someone is going to be super happy to get this. So it's okay. And then the other one is Local Woman Missing. And once again, super forgettable. I read it because I wanted to try something by the author. And then, you know, this one is pink. That one's fun. But yeah, it was fine. Just really forgettable. The writing was not great, to be honest. I'm not sure I want to read more by her. And then this is my official breakup with Riley Sager. It was a very long time coming. A lot of you were questioning why I even bothered with this one. I don't know either, but I did. The House Across the Lake, which also made it to my worst books of last year. I think the combo of using a pen name that is like gender neutral or ambiguous and writing awful female character is just a combo that pisses me off at this point. I feel like he makes them worse and worse every time. And in this case, she's once again an alcoholic. She makes some really poor moral judgments and conveniently forgets to think, because we're following her first point of view about something that she hides for most of the book from us. And it's a big deal. Like, it's just so dumb. And I feel like this was badly written because it felt like multiple books shoved together badly. The ending is just so out there, and I don't get it. I mean, some people are big fans. That's totally fine. He's just not for me. I'm so done with him. And yeah, pretty cover though, but I don't want it on my shelf. So officially breaking up. Let's go back to questionable authors. We're already there. Bright Weeks. Another one that was a very long time coming. I read the first book. I think this made it to my most disappointing books of 2017. And I was disappointed because I thought I was going to give this 5 stars because I was seeing this all over Booktube, and I heard no one mention how freaking misogynistic it is. And like, not a little bit, but a lot. But at the time I didn't post it, which is my only sadness about this whole thing. But first off, even if you don't think about that, it takes a good 100 pages to really start. I feel the magic system is weirdly vague, probably because it makes the story easier. But I like the magic system based on color. I like magical schools in general, so I was really excited to try this. And the teenage boy that is one of the main character is horny. You definitely know, and it's constantly shoved into your face that he is fat, awkward, and just like, you know, very self-conscious. It's a lot. It was also the case in the second book. But yeah, there are just so many questionable scenes in here, from the main female character being basically motorboated by said teenage boy, him falling on his back during a battle, thinking to himself, I seem to be spending more time on my back than a whore. Like, you know, humor that just doesn't work for me. No. And like, you can't write a female character, because said female character, when she is kidnapped by evil people, they put her in a skimpy dress and she looks at herself in the mirror and she's like, oh no, I feel insecure about my manly shoulders. Except that she's been a soldier for like 15 years and like she's the captain of the Black Guard. Like, it just makes no sense. And she pissed me off so much in book 2. I tried it because it's been years and I was like, maybe it wasn't that bad. I couldn't finish it. I put a pink post-it every time something was misogynistic and just annoying me. That's a lot. I couldn't do it. To a certain point, actually, this was healing, because you know how sometimes you're watching a movie or something, especially when you're younger, and you're like, wow, I can't stand these female characters. And you feel like, is it me that hates women? No, you just can't stand women written by men. And like, again, really early, there's 4 posted on this page. Our cat meowing in the background, it's her. She's so annoying. I love you to bits, but like, you're a bit much right now. Okay, if I bet her, she'll stop talking. But yes, on that page, she has been training, and this main male character that she's into, whatever, is seeing her, and she's like, oh no, I'm not being very ladylike because I'm sweaty. That man has known you for 15 years. Like, he's fully aware that you're a soldier. Like, it makes no sense. Anyway, I hated her, and the main male character, I hated him too. He's meant to be questionable, to be honest, but he does own a sex slave, which is totally fine in that world, so you know, there's that. But the reason I put it down at page 275, I put it down because the teenage boy gets into a scene that was just the last drop for me once again. I don't think this is a major spoiler, but if you don't want to know, feel free to mute me for a couple seconds. But in certain circumstances, he wins the contract of, basically a slave contract, of his female classmate. And what does he do? For a whole ass page, he seriously considers raping her. Like, he never acted that way before. Like, sure, he was awkward and blah, blah, but like, and like the female character basically realizes, you know, she watches his face and she realizes what's about to happen, and she, you know, gets ready. And it takes him the whole page to be like, maybe that is fucked up. Anyway, for me, that was the last drop, so I am officially giving up on the author. I have heard the spoiler, actually, there's a mystery-ish in the series. That was the only thing I was kind of curious about, and someone spoiled it at my demand, and I'm so glad I didn't read the rest of the series. I would have been pissed. So yeah, I'm super done with him. I did also have the Night Angel series by him, and I have heard awful things once again about the female characters, and I'm so done with these kind of male authors writing these questionable fantasy series that are just like their fantasies. I don't know. You know when you feel it? Anyway, never again. Speaking of which, I don't know where book 1 is. Maybe I didn't keep it. I read The Magician King again. Was it last year? I think it was last year. And gross. There's a grape scene where the female character gets, and it's essentially seen as a good thing for her. Need I say more? Some questionable female authors. I read Dead Poet Society, and I don't know if the script was written before. I think it was written before, and like, is this based on the script? Did she include these questionable scenes that were not in the movie? Thankfully, I don't know. Either way, this is marketed towards, is it 10 to 14-year-old I had seen? Either way, there's 2 scenes that I want to mention. You need to know. They're not in the movie, so it's not really a spoiler, but there's a scene that this main male character is in love with this girl he saw once, and in the movie, he just basically like pats her head when she's passed out from drinking, maybe gives her a kiss on the forehead. Anyway, in the book, she's making out with the person she's with, and he decides to grab her chest, thinking she won't know because she's gonna think it's the other guy. Like, I need to know, was this in the original script, or does this author decided to include that? I don't know. And there's another scene where the character, the teacher, that is played by Robin Williams, is showing the kids questionable pictures of young girls to distract them while they're doing a test, because that's how university is apparently, and you know, gotta practice. So yeah, I don't want that on my shelf. And like, there's no way we would have been okay to talk about this in high school. At least not the way we needed to address this. Anyway, I am also getting rid of You Are a Badass. This was part of my first official Read It Unhaul It. I'll link that down below if you're interested. This was definitely the funniest one because this was so but yeah, I don't want to read this. I've heard horrible things about the author since then, so I have absolutely no problem not finishing this. She says a few questionable things just from the first like 2 chapters, but like, I hate the whole bait and switch of like, oh, this isn't like the other ones, but then proceeds to be like religious and do exactly like all the other self-help books. And like, I'm not a self-help person, but this was gifted to me and I don't want this on my shelf. Yeah, I have strong opinions about these kind of self-help books anyway, so no, I'm not keeping these. I read Eliza Lockamora and then Red Seas Under the Red Skies, and I like the world, I like the characters. The writing is too slow, and I don't care about the stories. The plot is just not interesting to me. And then I have since heard things about the author, and I have no more intention of reading more about him. So they have to go. This one broke my heart. Kings of the Wild. I thought I was going to love this, give this 5-star, but I was just really bored. I tried it twice. This was also part of my pile of shame. I had read the first 50 pages, put it down, thinking the humor is not working for me. Maybe I'm just not in the mood for it. Never will be in the mood for it. I feel like when I put it down, I don't remember where exactly. I think it was about 300 pages into the book. I put it down because nothing had started. They're following these 4 or 5 men, whatever, that are retired as mercenaries, and they have to go on one last adventure trying to save the daughter of one of them, and nothing has happened 300 pages into the book. And again, the sense of humor is just not for me. Like the dick jokes, it just, I don't feel like the target audience, basically. So yeah, not for me. I'm sad because I really thought I was going to love this, but I didn't. And then we have Red Rising. Again, controversial. I read the first book, it was okay. I read the second book, and while I was reading it, I was okay with it. I feel like my interest went up and down, but I feel like looking back, I have an issue with, once again, when the tropes that is being used, the whole like woman in the fridge trope, basically something awful happens to a female character in order for the main male character to start his journey. I don't care for this trope, so I am officially done. Okay, we're officially done with all of these, so we can focus on other kind of complaints. Okay, I got rid of a lot of YA books, YA fantasy and sci-fi, because I'm too old. Don't get me wrong, some of them were great at a time, or some of them still today I will enjoy, but some of these just, no. The first one, this was all part of a Read It Unhaul It too, most of them. So I read the first chapter of a couple of them, decided which one I was going to finish, and this one did not win because the first chapter, which that can be a spoiler, right? First chapter, basically the main female character is in love with her brother. That's the twist at the end of the first chapter. And I'm assuming they're not actually, you know, blood related, but I don't care for that trope. I'm so done with this. No. This one was just not great. Neither, like, I just didn't care for them, just didn't want them on my shelf. I wasn't going to finish them. Same with the Book of Ivy. The Scorpio Races, I made a pretty good, gave it a good shot, and I just, again, was mixing the characters, honestly. I just was not invested. It's okay. I did read Sabriel, but once again, it felt more like a 3 stars, forgettable. It's just not for me. I feel too old. I've heard that the rest does get better, but I feel like I would have liked it more as a child. I had forgotten I own the second book in the Mary Dyer series, Devolution of Mary Dyer. I ended up reading a ton of this, to my shock, because they're so freaking readable. And that is the thing about these fantasy sci-fi books. And in this one, it's more like paranormal, which I really wanted to focus on the paranormal elements, but I couldn't deal with the romance. It's so fucking cringy. It's too much, the secondhand embarrassment. But yeah, I didn't finish it, but I read a lot. So if I had been a child, I would have devoured this series. Two more that I've only read the first chapter. We have Under the Never Sky and The Girl at Midnight. Again, I just feel like I'm too old for them. I will be gifting these, or I have a small little library not far from me. Maybe I will leave them there. Someone will be happy with them. The 3 Dark Crowns. I've read a big chunk of it, and then I put it down because there was a trope that annoyed me, which I can put in the comment section, or you can watch the video. I talked about it in there. I hate these. I feel like it's a cheap shot. I hate in general cheap shot to make the plot more interesting because it's boring without, like, we didn't need it actually. Okay, like I'm gonna say romance love triangle. It was unnecessary, and I feel like the plot was interesting enough, or could have been interesting enough without this. I just gave up because it annoyed me, to be honest. I'm usually not this petty, but like when I'm just giving it a shot because it's been on my shelf for years, I'm trying to be like harsh about it. I did read The Queen of Atlantis, which is the second book in, I think it's the Thief series, the Thief's Queen or something. I read the first one, kind of forgot about it, and I tried a second one, and it was okay. It was okay. Not my thing. The next one is going to hurt. I completely forgot I still own these. These are all like Mortal Instrument and like the other series, I don't know what you call it, Infernal Devices or something. I read the first 2 books of the Mortal Instrument series, and I was still pissed at the ending of book 1 when I was reading book 3, and I gave up and I never went back, and I never will. Part of me kept them because I thought I would try them again, maybe vlog it. It could be fun kind of thing. But again, I feel too old. I feel like I will just bitch the whole time. And as fun as it can be at times, I don't want to do that for like 9 books. It's silly. It's not for me. It's okay. I really didn't care for the first 2 books that I read. So again, they don't need to be in this house, and more space. I tried to read some Sherlock Holmes, and I have the 2 edition of like the volume 1 and 2 for all of his work. I tried the first 2 and they were okay. I just didn't really care for it. It didn't age well, to be honest. Not every classic will, and I hesitated and thought maybe I could read like the most popular ones. Not, the first book in these big series are not always the best ones, but it's okay. I have too many other classics I want to read. I did read this whole book. I don't even know how. The Redemption of Time, which is kind of a book companion follow-up to the 3-Body Problem series, or I should say the Remembrance of Earth series. I like that series, even though, again, very questionable with the sexism, but the sciencey bits were really interesting. Great first contact with aliens. It's very heavy. I have never read anything with mind-blowing concepts like that. I don't think I ever will. I'm often asked for something similar. I don't know. I don't think it exists. But this was written by someone else, but approved by the author. And it's, again, kind of the follow-up after the end of book 3, and it was fine. It's not for me. And then we have this book that I also started and didn't finish. This was, I think I read it on holiday, but last year, and I was trying to read some mystery thrillers. This was on the wrong shelf, and I tried it, and I was hating it already. So I decided, you know what? Let's not keep it. Cool cover, but no. Well, that was a lot of complaining. I now have space on my shelf for more books to haul. Actually, I haven't done a little haul in a while. I'm gonna do one soon because I've accumulated a few books. But yeah, I think it's important to get rid of the books that you don't like. Honestly, looking at them makes me angry or just not happy. So why would I own them? There's no reason to keep them. And I am noticing trends every year when I'm doing these videos, things that don't work for me, and I try to, focus on what actually works for me. I now know that I'm a little over really sexist fantasy books, and I think we don't talk about it enough on Booktube. I feel like, again, like I was mentioning, some of these series, I kept hearing 5 stars, 5 stars, and I'm like, did you not notice? Or did you just don't want to deal with the backlash of mentioning these things? Because it's annoying. It's really annoying. And maybe it's because I'm getting older and I feel like I have no more patience for it. Like, I don't want every female character to be described by how attractive they are, or like literally your breast size. Like, it's just so ridiculous. So yeah, I have very little patience for it, and I feel like I'm complaining, like I said, a lot in this video, but it's because it's accumulation of it. Like, how many were there in this video? So I feel like in the last year I kind of strayed away from fantasy because of it, and even sci-fi, but I'm finally going back to it, and I've been finding some that I actually really love, so it's finally balancing out a little bit. So if you have any recommendations, feel free to let me know, but in the comment section I want to know what books you have unhauled. Do you unhaul? I feel like some of you don't like to, but I think it's nice, especially like it's spring right now. I feel the need to like clean, get rid of stuff, and then hoard some more. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, subscribe. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you soon in the next video. Probably a haul very soon. Bye.